Hello, my name is Gordon Sheppard. I am the CEO of Executive Wins, and I'm here today to tell you about a new resource that I've created. It's a free resource that you can get at executivewins.com. It's called How Leaders Can Get More Wins in Business. And in there, I put a few prompts that you can follow along. It's pretty self-explanatory. And I think once you understand what's in here, you're going to get an opportunity to get more business wins in the future. And let me tell you why. Okay, here we go. On the first page in this resource, you're going to see that you're going to be asked to define what a business win is for you. And this is simply an exercise that most leaders that I deal with don't do. Like, well, okay, what is a win? Is it a process improvement? Did you build a new product? Is it an innovation? Did you do something with your people? Did you become a better leader? Whatever that is for you, take a moment and, 5-10 minutes worth and say, well, what is a win? When we talk about that around our company, it leads to the second step, and it starts with a simple question. Do you have a wins list, right? And the second step then says to prompt you to build your own wins list. I was teaching 90 people at a conference recently, and I said, do you have a wins list? And no hands went up with 90 people. And so for the first moment in time there, I said, well, great, just put your heads down and do some quiet writing and build your own wins list for the first time. It was really neat to see how focused people were building one for the first time. It's a gift to yourself to be able to do it. So now you know what a win is. You've defined it for yourself. You've started your first wins list. Then we get into what I call the anatomy of a win, which is where we examine the strategy, the work plan, the people, the operations, and results behind a win. And the great thing, I get lucky to also be the host of the Executive Wins podcast, which is a Quill Podcasting Award winner for Best New Podcast in 2025. And I draw on the stories of the senior leaders who share their biggest wins in business on the show. And just one of the stories was a fellow named Alvin Pike, who has a young engineer. The biggest loan he ever got was the mortgage on his house. And then he went out and he raised $25 million to buy a screw piling business. This is where they put in foundational screws to build large buildings. And he got that business from $10 million in revenue to $50 million in revenue per year in just 3 short years. It's a great, great story. And when we looked behind, we got into the anatomy of a win. What was the strategy behind it? Well, one of the highlights there was he knew he had a vision because he knew that he could take this screw pile business for, they were applying it to sort of, let's say, light industrial, this kind of thing, and put it into major infrastructure projects. He wanted to get into hydroelectric infrastructure building, oil sands buildings, this kind of thing. And he knew that he could take it there if he was able to get his hands on this business, and he did that. What was the work plan? Well, he didn't expect to get to 50 million in revenue in 3 years, but he knew he could get started and work with the people who were already in the business that he was buying, and then sort of upgrade their internal processes and those things along the way. And so there's a lot of highlights along the way for sort of system implementation and those culture moves that he had to make along the way to get the buy-in to start to get this rapid growth. Who were the people involved? Well, they're the people that own the business, which stayed in the business for a while, and then he got in there and started to work alongside with them. And when I say people, I also say, what are the attitudes of the people that were involved? They might have been a bit reluctant, at first for him coming in, but then they saw that he could demonstrate the process improvements and things that they didn't have before, and then he was able to move those things forward. And I think he just didn't take no for an answer as he kind of built up to these larger scale projects. Operationally, again, we mentioned some of the highlights that were there that made it better. You can dig into a lot more detail there if you want. And finally, what were the results? Well, I mentioned there's dollar results. There's the satisfaction. They were able to expand. They set up an office in the United States. And so there's all kinds of good things that came from it. So when you think about results, qualitative, quantitative, that's another piece along the way. That's a very quick example and a very brief explanation of what can be a complex sort of 5-pillar approach to any scenario, especially when you're talking about a win and how to break it down. So now we've learned to reverse engineer that past win, and we're going forward in the resource, and we can actually sort of put that past win right here in step 4, and you can go through it, whatever those were for you, and you can use my example or get in touch if you need help with sort of getting that thing listed out. Finally, there's the future business win that you want to put there as well. There's things you're moving towards. What's that next thing that you want to do? But we're using this same structure as a way to talk about it. And that is, quickly, how leaders can get more wins in business. I hope you take a moment to go to executivewins.com, download it for yourself. If you have any feedback about it or how it can be improved, please let me know. But I really do hope that you can learn that structure to reverse engineer a past win and then use that structure once you've got it to get more business wins in the future.